Why is Kody combing his hair? Isn't he old enough to do this?
I think that they were trying to. So part of it was, obviously Solomon does his own hair in the morning. They needed content to film watching the kids get ready for school.
They got to do something.
So they got to do something. So that's why Robyn had to wake up Ariella. That's why they had to like push her off to school. But it could have also been something special because it looked like on Ariella's sign, it was their first day of 3rd grade. So maybe it was also just trying to be cutesy. It's your first day back to school. Let's do something fun. I'll help you with your hair. It could have been that as well. But they needed to film something.
Hey besties, welcome back to the channel. So, let's talk about Kody Brown and Robyn Brown's big first day of school moment. You know, the one TLC filmed where they tried so hard to look like this picture-perfect, happy little family? Yeah, let me just say it straight. Every single second of that scene was fake. Like fake. Mykelti and Tony actually spilled some tea while watching the premiere episode. And Mykelti admitted that a ton of what we see on the show is totally staged just to create content. Which explains a lot because let's be real. Kody does not usually wake up and play super dad, getting his kids ready for school. That's just not his thing. And honestly, you could tell. He looked so awkward, like he was completely out of his element. The man didn't even know how to work a toaster oven to make waffles. He had to put his glasses on like it was rocket science. Then he started calling his kids' school supplies school equipment, which, who even says that? And don't even get me started on him brushing Solomon's hair or lecturing him about not keeping a phone near his body. The whole vibe was just forced. Even Robyn's part wasn't real. Remember her going in to wake up little Ariella? That wasn't some sweet mother-daughter moment. Ariella's reaction wasn't because she didn't want to wake up. It was because she literally opened her eyes to a camera shoved in her face. Like, imagine being a little kid and the first thing you see in the morning is a TLC camera crew. That's not normal parenting, that's a reality show circus. And then circling back to Kody's weird phone comment, Tony and Mykelti explained that Kody and Robyn actually hold some pretty questionable health beliefs. Christine even wrote in her book that Kody went deep into all these online conspiracy rabbit holes over the years. He'd try to push that stuff on her and she just wasn't having it. One of the biggest areas where his conspiracy thinking came out was around health. Both Kody and Robyn refused to follow certain protocols that TLC set up to protect the crew. Now, most TV productions required proof of vaccination to keep everyone safe. Pretty standard in the industry. But Kody and Robyn flat out refused. And here's the kicker. Instead of just admitting it, they turned it into this whole thing. When everyone else in the family got vaccinated, Kody and Robyn used that as an excuse to isolate themselves even more. They went so far as to accuse their own family of trying to infect them with the virus because they got the shot. Which makes zero sense because that's not even how the virus spreads. The truth is, the vaccine reduced the spread early on and saved lives. But Kody and Robyn twisted it into another reason to keep their distance. Christine brought all this up to show just how fake their so-called rule following was on the show. They acted like they were so worried about CDC guidelines, but behind the scenes, they were doing the exact opposite. So here's the thing. Kody and Robyn kept pretending like they were just following their doctor's advice. But the reality? They weren't. They were getting their information from sketchy online sources, stuff that wasn't even true, and then turning around and spreading that misinformation through the family. And the wildest part? Once some of the family members got vaccinated, suddenly they became the villains. It turned into, oh, you listened to TLC and got the vaccine, now you're trying to get us sick. Like what? They just kept piling on excuse after excuse. But Christine says it wasn't really about the vaccine at all. Deep down, she believes it was just another reason for Kody and Robyn to keep themselves isolated from everyone else. Just another wall to hide behind. And it's not just vaccines, they've got this whole anti-modern medicine mindset. Christine explained that Kody and Robyn are pretty against things like medication for mental health, and they're not big on going to doctors in general. They'd rather go down rabbit holes online than trust an actual professional. Apparently, Kody even got sucked hard into QAnon, which honestly tracks because he was out there spouting, "Where we go one, we go all," like a true believer. If you don't know much about QAnon and how ridiculous it all turned out to be, there's actually a docuseries I recommend called Question into the Storm by Cullen Hoback. In the series, Hoback digs into the origins of Q. He talks to the people who ran the site where Q posted those so-called drops, interviews the original creator of 8chan, and gets close to the father and son who own the platform. And here's the kicker. By the end, it's pretty clear that Q was actually Ron, the son. He wasn't some secret government insider. He was just a guy chasing internet clout, using QAnon as a way to boost traffic to his website. It was all smoke and mirrors. But people bought into it and Ron got hooked on the power trip. Lies kept spreading just for the sake of spreading them. And during COVID, he shifted those lies into health conspiracies. False claims about the virus, the vaccines, all made up with zero evidence. Then other people repeated them, politicians picked it up, and suddenly it was everywhere. And yep, according to Christine's book, that's exactly the world Kody dove headfirst into. He was living in that conspiratorial space, and it shaped how he and Robyn acted on the show. They liked to pretend they were all about safety, but behind the scenes they didn't actually care about the science at all. And get this. Mykelti says Robyn still pushes these wild health ideas. For example, she apparently believes that cell phones cause testicular cancer or mess with men's sperm count. Like that's her thing. But the truth? There's barely any credible research even suggesting that. It's just another fear-based belief that doesn't hold up under facts. So here's the deal. There's actually no proven link between cell phones and testicular cancer. Phones give off non-ionizing radiation which doesn't damage DNA the way ionizing radiation does. That means it doesn't have the power to trigger cancer. Now, carrying your phone in your front pocket might temporarily raise the temperature in that area, which could possibly affect sperm quality in some men. But even that's not really confirmed. The problem is, the studies on this are super limited. Most of them rely on self-reporting, which isn't very reliable, and none of them have been able to prove a solid connection. And no major medical organizations have come out and said, yes, keeping a phone in your pocket is a cause of infertility. In fact, the American Urological Association's guidelines don't even list cell phone exposure as a risk factor. The World Health Organization is still reviewing research on phones and fertility, but so far there's no conclusive evidence. Basically, the science just isn't there. But Robyn and Kody? They believe it's fact. Which is why Kody makes a big deal about not keeping phones in pockets. It's just another one of those things they've latched onto from the conspiracy world. And honestly, Christine's book made this all sound even more ridiculous. Because while Kody and Robyn were acting like everyone else in the family was dangerous, the truth was, they were pointing fingers not because of real exposure risks, but because people were vaccinated. Like, make that make sense. Anyway, Mykelti also pointed out that this whole super dad routine we saw on the show, Kody brushing hair, packing bags, trying to look involved, that's not him. That's not what he does. Maybe he'll drive the kids to school sometimes, but actually getting them ready in the morning? Nope. That was all staged for TLC. And speaking of that same episode, Mykelti had some thoughts when she watched the scene with Christine, David, Truly, Aspen, and Mitch out in North Carolina. You remember the part with the race and Maddie crying? Well, Janelle made a kind of passive-aggressive comment about David, and afterward Mykelti said something really interesting. She was like, I actually think David and Janelle would get along really well. But then she added, Christine and Janelle? They'd never be friends if it weren't for the family situation. And it kind of makes sense. Janelle and Christine are just complete opposites. Janelle's the practical, logical type, reserved, thoughtful, a planner. Christine is the dreamer, loud, fun, imaginative, and boisterous. So while they've always had this shared history, their personalities don't naturally mesh. Mykelti explained that if Janelle and Christine had just met out in the real world, not sharing a husband, not raising kids side by side, they probably wouldn't have been friends at all. But David? She said David is the kind of guy who could be friends with literally anyone. He's outgoing, genuinely interested in people, and just has this big personality that draws people in. She also pushed back on the idea that David is arrogant. She said, no, he's just lively, friendly, and super engaging, which makes people want to be around him. So yeah, Janelle and Christine may not be natural besties, but Janelle and David? That could actually work. At the end of the day, Mykelti was honest. Christine and Janelle do care about each other. They support each other when it matters. But are they friends in the true sense of the word? Probably not. Their bond is more about the kids and the family history than genuine compatibility. And that difference has definitely shown over the seasons. I mean, have you noticed it too? Janelle often looks annoyed whenever Christine tries to encourage her or give advice. It's like even if Christine is being supportive, Janelle's pride gets in the way and she just bristles. That tension has always been there, and you can see it come out in those little moments. And you know what else? Christine has always worried that Kody was manipulating Janelle and kind of using her. Even now, I think Christine still carries that concern deep down. She absolutely loves Janelle, but she also seems a little further out of that old mindset than Janelle is. See, Janelle says she doesn't believe in polygamy anymore. And she made this really interesting point. She said that if polygamy were ever made legal, men probably wouldn't even want it. Why? Because then they'd actually have to split their assets, their money, their homes, their resources with multiple wives. And according to her, no man would sign up for that. So basically what she's really saying is, men only go into polygamy because they can manipulate women without having to share their stuff. It's all about control and power. Which to me kind of shows that Janelle's still untangling some of that cult-style thinking. And honestly, that's the sad part. These women's personalities, their individuality, their feelings, they weren't really valued in that environment. In the group's mindset, showing concern for someone else, or admitting you need support, was seen as weakness. You weren't supposed to criticize the priesthood, you weren't supposed to question the structure. Independence was preached, but it wasn't real independence. Like, if Janelle had been as independent as she thought, she probably wouldn't have stayed in that relationship for so long. Her version of independence was filtered through years of cult brainwashing. And Christine? I don't think she ever comes from a bad place. She genuinely wants the people around her to be happy, safe, and free from being used. Whether it's Janelle, Mary, or even talking about Kody and Robyn, her heart is in the right spot. She's like, I just want the best for you, I don't want you suffering. But the tricky part is, Christine has gone through therapy, she's in a new marriage, she's really broken away from that programming. Meanwhile, Janelle, Mary, and of course Kody and Robyn, they're still stuck in that old mindset, even if they physically left the lifestyle. That kind of conditioning doesn't just vanish. It takes years to fully let go. So yeah, what do you think, besties? Kody and Robyn's fake little scenes, their wild health beliefs, the phone thing, the COVID drama. Honestly, it was all a mess. I'm not here to argue with anyone about vaccines or phones. This is just me sharing what Christine wrote in her book and what McKelty and Tony revealed. But it really shows how much Kody and Robyn made life harder for everyone else, when in reality, the rest of the family was just trying to follow TLC's rules. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Christine's right about Kody and Janelle? And what do you make of Robyn's bizarre health ideas? Drop your opinions below. And of course, don't forget, give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the tea. Thanks so much for watching, besties. Bye.